Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amy Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that thumbs up button, hit the notification button, leave us comments. We love engaging with you guys. We want to hear what you have to say, and most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amy, ¿cómo estás?
We just had a day off from baseball. The only Sunday in all of this season.
That it felt I saw a lot of that on social media. A lot of people thought it was very weird that the Dodgers were off on Sunday. And I have to say this, Amy. I think whoever did the schedule this year for the Dodgers, I think is really sticking it to the Dodgers. I feel, especially in the month of June, it's just been really odd to go to New York, come back to LA, and then go back to New York again, to go on the road and then come back to LA for 2 days and then go back. I just
Half of the Freeway Series that we're going to play the other half in September.
yeah, I just
But
I'm
you know
very
what? This is my math nerd in me though, and as somebody who used to schedule, like that's got to be so hard to try to like match up all 30 teams, make sure they all play each other, make sure they get the right amount of games. Like I do not envy the scheduler at all.
I totally get that. I understand that, but at the same time, I would think if they're in Colorado, wouldn't it make sense? Oh, they're going to play Chicago. Why don't we just have them play Chicago this weekend? And then, oh, they're going to go play San Francisco after that? All right, we'll have them stop back in LA, play 2 games against the Angels, and then go up to San Francisco.
Who were all of those teams playing at that point though? Like it depends on where they all were in their schedule too. I say this as somebody after the COVID season who had a schedule for all of those random games that we got when we got the unique ticket packs and trying to like plug in all my friends for which games we were going to. It was chaos. Organized chaos.
I get that. But here's my thing. It feels like in the past, and I get it now with interleague play and the fact that they're playing every team, but it seemed like in the past, like if some East Coast team was coming out to the West Coast, they were,
It followed a trajectory of like, okay,
exactly.
we're going up
All
the
right.
coast and over or something
Exactly.
like
We're going to LA, then we're going to go to San Diego, and then we're going to go to San Francisco. I mean, the Yankees just did it earlier this year, their West Coast trip.
that. Are you bringing logic into this right now?
I guess that's my problem, and I guess that's the reason why, like, a lot of Dodger fans can't stand me. Is I bring logic into these things as opposed to just being a blatant homer and being like the Dodgers need to win every game possible. And
Wow, we started that train really early this episode.
I think it's just so I feel bad for these guys, because it's one of those things where it's like you come home for a 2-game series, and now you're going back to Chicago, and I love Chicago, but I think it's
The
like
travel is so hard, just even on the body. I was just having a
Yeah.
conversation this weekend about what these guys do on the field. I know we talk about it a lot, but like how they're there, multiple hours before a game, 5 to 6 hours before a game, getting ready, running drills, then playing, the 2 to 3 hours in the game. And then they're there after the game. It's not just like a couple hour, like they show up to play and then they leave. Like you have all of that wearing out your body, especially as hot as it was this weekend. And it's not even as hot as it's going to get this summer. And now you throw travel into it. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so much. You're right. Just going back and forth when we could have like an even trajectory around would make so much more sense.
Look, I mean, I flew to the East Coast on an Airbus. I get it. I have no leg room whatsoever, right? And I am so tired the minute I get off that plane, and I need like some time just to recover from the flight. And I get it that these guys fly on a nicer plane and all that stuff. But have you seen
still
Federico's
flying.
leg? Like, have you seen Federico's legs? Like, Federico looks like he's walking on stilts, right? And I get it. He's probably got a lot of leg room and all that stuff. But for these guys, they'll get in at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, get in some hours, and then they got to go to the stadium. And it's every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I
Plus the time travel, and you're taking into account time travel because now they've got jet lag. Ugh.
I would love to be able to talk to someone from Major League Baseball who makes the schedule to be able to defend themselves. Like I know this is not a personal attack on them. This is just me thinking out loud. And it's not that this doesn't feel like a one-off to me because like I said earlier in the month, didn't they just come home for a 3-game series? Was it against the Rockies? And then they went right back to the East Coast. And again,
yeah, for anybody who was trying to do like a Mets Yankees type of like, hey, let's go see both those series, but you'd have to stay for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's I digress, but let's
go
ahead.
Speaking of weird games, we had 4 against the Rockies, 2 against the Angels, and Sunday off.
And Sunday off, which again, that's what started me off on this because it just felt very weird to have the Dodgers not play on Sunday.
Do you feel better? Do you feel better now?
I do. Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to go ahead and do that. So let me ask you this. Do you want to start with the Rockies series or do you want to go to go backwards with the most recent start with the Angels series?
Let's go in chronological since we jumped around so much last episode.
Wow. This is the obsessive compulsive in you, right? It's just like
I mean, I do have all my highlights. You can't see them, but all my highlights and my.
She's holding up her scorecards for those of you that are listening on the podcast. Ned.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the Rockies series. So they end up going to Colorado, and they end up winning 3 out of 4 against the Rockies. And I think it's a tale of 2 different pitchers. I think is the difference in this series.
Which is so funny, too, because when we lost the 1 game, it was like social media lost its mind. It was, what? We lost a game?
Yeah, not yes.
Not like 3 out of 4. Like, yeah, that's a pretty good run. It was like the focus was on that 1 loss. And I feel like we did a lot of good stuff.
Let's start with that, Amy, because, yes, they lost their mind because they lost 1 game. But in my mind, they could have very easily have lost 2 games because let's go to that great comeback, the one that had everybody going nuts, the one that I know a lot of people probably turned off that game and said freaking Dodgers. And then once they started seeing the updates, I think once Hayward hit the grand slam, that's when everybody started tuning back in and was just like, look.
This is what I love about baseball because it's not over until that last out. Like these are those moments where like, yeah, we really could have lost the game, but
yes, the game is not over until the fat lady sings, but let's say the fat lady was in on a 5 at that point. So you got to give the Dodgers credit because they came back from a 5-run deficit to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my. Do you want to start with the positives before I go full Prince of Darkness with you?
Yeah. So I stoked for Hayward because he came in as a pinch hitter in the top of the 9th. Came in, hit that grand slam. Teoscar came in right after that, and well, not right after, but as the roster cycled through, he hit that 3-run home run. I think 2 of the highlights that I loved about that game, Michael Peterson made his debut. He actually got the win for that game. So he pitched 2 innings. Great job to him. And I enjoyed the rundown that happened at the bottom of the 7th because I think it was Pages threw to Rojas, who threw to Freddie, who like chased down the other guy. And I think Rojas got the out. I was watching the game with my friend on the phone and it was just like, oh my God, rundown.
You are such a nerd. You are such a nerd. Who gets excited in a rundown?
Well, and then I'm like, once it's done, I'm like, all right, what were the numbers? Oh, it was an 8636. Got it.
All right. So look, I want to preface this by saying, again, I'm giving credit to the Dodgers because they came back and they won that game. Now, this is all leading to the Teoscar Hernandez at bat before he hits his home run. Okay. Now, I will preface this again by saying, Shohei Ohtani earlier in the game hit a shot into the outfield that if Brendan Doyle doesn't get to that ball is an inside the park home run, but at least a minimum 2-run score, and it makes it a 1-run game. And then later on, the heroics from Hayward, it makes it a different game. And maybe the Dodgers do come back regardless to win that game. But that didn't happen. Brendan Doyle made an amazing catch, but that the Oscar Hernandez check swing, Amy, I want to hear from you because I know this is going to piss people off, but to me, he swung. That was a strike 3.
Yes. But I think wasn't it the pitch beat, or wasn't it the batter before? Like we got a bad call on that one too. So then it was
Will
Smith. Almost,
it was Will Smith, your buddy, didn't get the timeout call. And I will say this, the umpire doesn't need to grant him that call. I know a lot of people were pissed off, because he was calling for time, but it's the umpire's discretion to give him time, and the umpire didn't. So you can't assume. Like, I know Karros did a really good job of, like, that's what you were supposed to do. You call it out. You start saying, timeout. You don't step out of the box, right? Just say timeout until the umpire grants it to you. And so you could tell that he was just half in and half out, so he ended up striking out. I don't have a problem with that, but for me, that the Oscar Hernandez, let's be honest with ourselves, okay?
Because it was like a little nudge further, wasn't it? I'm trying to recall. There was a lot of
I felt it was a swing. And this is where everybody gets into the argument. All these people are telling me, well, his wrist didn't break, Juan. And I'm just like, I'm not looking at the risks. I'm at the wrist. I'm looking at the barrel of the bat. And if the barrel of the bat goes across the plate, I consider that a swing. And if you look, especially from the side view, because I know from like the center field camera, people thought, oh, he didn't go. But if you look at that side view, he looks like that barrel of the bat crossed home plate. And for me, that was a swing. And if that ends up being called a swing, the Dodgers lose that game. Because I don't know if you saw the right fielder for the Rockies lost his mind.
Jake
Cave, and then Bud Black lost his mind. Where do you stand on that?
Bud Black got ejected right after that.
Did he get ejected? See, that was the thing.
I was scoring the game after the fact, and as according to Game Day, yes, he did get ejected.
Oh, okay. I thought he didn't get ejected. I saw him yelling.
Same. But I didn't know until I was going through my scorecards last night and tightening everything up. And according to Game Day, he did get ejected. So
this is the fascinating thing to me about baseball. Everybody always says that it evens out in the end. You get some breaks, and then some breaks don't go your way. You piss off the baseball gods, and the baseball gods will bring karma to you. But like I said, I want to give the Dodgers credit because the Oscar should have struck out on that pitch. He got another opportunity, and he made the Rockies pay for it by hitting that home run. But again,
that is something where like you do take advantage, whether it's you or the opposing team, you take advantage of those opportunities when they're given to you. And I do think it all balances out. We've been on the other side where the call goes the other way, and you're upset, but like, to your point, like, what are you going to do about it? Like in this case, okay, so this one, it went our way versus, all those times. I think I was looking at that stat where Mookie's actually leading in, just balls and strikes called incorrectly on him. I think he leads the league, where it's just, those are the breaks. And luckily, in this case, it went our way this time. There have been plenty of times where Dodgers fans are upset or think they're upset, even though the call was right. And, the game ends up a different way.
The reason why I bring it up is because if the Dodgers lose that game, they go 3-3 that week. And I think the team everybody looks at him differently and goes, what's wrong with this team? Is just continues to play at a 500 clip.
It's almost like last year too, where like everybody's upset, but also last year we weren't supposed to win as many games as we did. And we came through, we won 100 games, and it's like, okay, we weren't even factored in because of all the injuries, who we lost, et cetera. And that's kind of where we're sitting at right now. Like we're losing players, either through injury or coming back from injury, maybe not pacing up as fast as we thought. So like the team's playing as good as they can under the circumstances, and you take the gifts that you get and you suck up the ones that you don't, and you just keep playing.
It was a crazy game because that Jason Hayward grand slam hit the foul pole. It bounced off the foul pole.
And I was like, oh God.
I had already mentioned the Brendan Doyle catch, which was fantastic. But one of the things was that was the game that Bobby Miller pitched. Bobby Miller made his return. And I know
Tuesday's game? That was Bueller.
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. That was
because Bueller gave up 4 runs in the first inning. He had a little bit of a rocky start.
Thank you for catching me. So let's go to Bueller.
Go back.
Let's finish off on Bueller before we go to Bobby Miller. But so right after that game, Bueller was put on the injured list. And I know we were at the game prior to that in the homestand when Bueller was pitching, and they came out, the trainer came out to see him. He was shaking his leg and stuff like that. So I think they were already hinting at maybe there is something physically wrong with Bueller. But the way, I want to be fair to this, Amy, and I don't know if we had realistic expectations with Walker Bueller. This is a guy who is coming back from a second Tommy John, and I know that there have been examples of pitchers. Nathan Eovaldi is one of them, of pitchers that have come back from a second Tommy John and have been really, really effective. Now,
I don't think it was realistic. Just that's when he came back and everybody was like, oh, he's going to be fine. Like, really rocky start, but then he's going to pick up. And it's like, he hasn't pitched in 2 years. I think it's unfair to put that on his shoulders. And I think he's been wearing that all 8 games that he's pitched in.
That's, to me, is what the most fascinating thing is. From the fans, I absolutely expected them to be like, what the hell's wrong with Bueller? But to see it from Bueller and to see his post-game interviews and to have him repeatedly, like I've seen this man who at the very start of his career was a very confident pitcher who basically went out there and said, I'm going to do it. Who would openly cuss and all that stuff, to seeing a man now that has no confidence, and to seeing a player that is coming to the reality that he can't do what he used to do. Now, the velocity is still there, but what it looks like is he doesn't have the same movements on his pitches. Now, the question is, does he not have the same movements on his pitching because he's still recovering from that second Tommy John? Or is it because he doesn't have the sticky stuff anymore? Because one of the things we have to remember,
he didn't make the adjustment with everybody else at the same time.
Exactly. The last time he pitched, the sticky stuff was still allowed. And now that he's come back, the sticky stuff is not allowed. So that's one of the things where it's like, well, what is it? And it's like,
it's C, all of the above. Like, we've even seen it with Lux. Like, everybody expected him to be a dynamo coming out the gate, and he hasn't played in a year. Like, your body does not respond the same way as if you have been ramping it up. It's why guys play in the off season, even just so that they don't get a break. And those are guys who haven't even had injuries.
And this is one of the things that we have to watch this space, because he's going down. Who knows how long he's going to be out for? They'll probably give him some rehab starts to be able to go in the minors. And I think those rehab starts not only are going to be for him to heal physically, but maybe to try to figure some things more, out here. But Amy, is it too far for me? Is this totally going to upset you and be conspiracy theorist if I say, I don't know if we're going to see Walker Bueller pitch again this season in the major leagues? Because I'm not going to go as far, because I know a lot of people bring up Noah Syndergaard. And this is where everybody makes fun of me, because I always say I was there for the saddest Christmas ever. But if you watch these post-game interviews, I get why people are bringing up Noah Syndergaard, because this is what you were hearing from Noah Syndergaard in post-game interviews. Like, Noah Syndergaard was sitting there saying, I'm letting the team down. The team is losing because of me. And I feel like that's what we're hearing from Walker Bueller, that it sucks that I'm the one dragging everyone down.
Well, it can't feel good. Like, he gave up 7 runs in 4 innings like that. You he's trying his hardest, but it can't feel good you're already setting it's Colorado, but still, you don't want to put your team in the hole before they even, get a chance to try to at least make a comeback offensively. And we know our offense has been struggling a little bit. We don't have Mookie. We're shifting the roster around, the lineup around, just to kind of like, okay, what is this working? Is this working against this handed pitching versus that? It's rough to see it, but I feel like it's a small sample size too. Everybody wants him to be perfect, wants him to be postseason ready. It's 8 games. Like, it's not like he's a position player that you can run out there every day and he's going to get those reps and the muscle memory is eventually going to kick in. He's had 8 games. He's not pitching every day. Like, you don't, even if you're just throwing, out in the field or throwing a bullpen, it's not the same as being in a game mentality. And so he has to wait every 5 or 6 days to get to test out what the next version of whatever they practiced was. That's rough. Like, I feel for the guy. I don't know that I would go as far as the conspiracy theory that we might not see him at all this season, but I think they might work him out a little longer if it just, hey, we just need to get you more reps before you come back up.
To me, it's fascinating. I want to go back to this later on in the episode when we talk about what happened in the Angels series. But this team, like they win big in that first game, and James Paxton. I don't know if James Paxton has a voodoo doll or what's going on, but James Paxton seems to get a lot of run support from the Dodgers. He is like the anti-Tyler Glass now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't score for Tyler Glass now, but James Paxton goes out there, and the Dodgers seem to go, hey, yeah, we're gonna give you like a 10 spot here, James Paxton. But he looked
and
really...
in that game too, Freddie ended up walking 5 out of his 6 at bats, which they were. I was listening to it on the radio, and they were talking about like records and whatnot, and like, is he going to try to take the next walk on the 6th at bat? And he swung. It's Freddie, so he ended up singling, but 5 of the 6 walks. Well, 4 of them were walks. 1 wasn't intentional, but still a walk.
That's nuts. I don't think I ever recall seeing somebody walk that many times. And I'm not going to lie to you, Amy. I was kind of rooting for the 6th walk. Like, when he got that base hit in that at bat, I was just like, no, man, walk.
Yeah, everybody I think was in some capacity. So I was looking it up because I was actually listening to the radio. I was driving somewhere on Monday, so I was taking in the game with like Tim Neverett and everybody. But I think they were talking about there was a guy, I think his last name was Fox, who has the record. But then I went to go look it up before today's episode, and Bryce Harper had like 6 walks in a game, I think in 2016. So not sure what the actual record there is, but he was at least 1 away, or the Fox guy might have had 7 in 1 game or something like that. But it really interesting. I love how baseball is just full of these random stats.
Yeah, I mean, talk about random. I think this whole series was random. Like, going into this series, I was worried that James Paxton, Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller coming back and making his first start, coming back from in Colorado.
And
I was like,
Stone just continuing to truck on. Like,
I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried about Stone. I was worried about the other guys. So I want to give my flores to James Paxton, because I think James Paxton looked really. I mean, he looked really sharp, I felt, in that first game. And that's
7
the thing.
innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, only 1 home run. He's got a 3.65 ERA.
He box. Like, he got his jack in the box. So I think we have to be thankful for that. But he is one guy that I can't figure out, because there are times that he looks great, and there are other times that he just cannot find the plate. I wish we could get a little more consistency out of him. But
you mean like any pitcher who has ups and downs?
Go ahead, say it. Go ahead. I mean, it's like 23 minutes into the episode, and we haven't gotten our...
I don't know. I was just gonna say, he's just playing baseball.
He's just playing baseball. Okay, let's go to Bobby Miller. I know Bobby Miller gave up 5 runs, but I have to say the thing that I'm most impressed with Bobby Miller was he pitched into the 7th inning in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And the way things started, I was just like, oh, here comes another bullpen game in Colorado. So the fact that he was able to give them that many innings, I applaud him on his first start back, for coming back from rehab. The other thing I just want to point out real quick about Bobby Miller is he made one mistake. If he doesn't throw that fastball right down the middle and gives up that 3-run home run in the first inning, he might have pitched into the 7th inning and only given up 2 runs. And we look at that start completely different.
Well, and this is where like all that what ifing, like it just kind of makes me giggle a little bit because I'm just like, okay. I mean, like if we didn't get the error or if they didn't do this, like there's so many ways that games could be won. I feel like it's just a throwback, but like a choose your own adventure. Like if we took this path, what would have happened? Where like you can't factor in that stuff. Like you can't factor in he left, straight down the middle, 3-run home run. Or, we had that error in the I'm just looking at my card in the bottom of the 7th. And then that ended up coming back around to bite us when Amador doubled. And it's like, okay, so if that one doesn't happen, do we end up tying the game and going into extra innings again? So
yeah, that's why to me I found his start very encouraging. Of all places in Colorado, to give them that length, and like I said, there were some mistakes. The defense didn't help him in that play, but I think with a couple more starts, maybe his stuff will be sharper, his control will be sharper, and I'm very encouraged by this.
It was his first game back. Like, good job, dude. Like,
yeah,
it was a close game that we lost by. It wasn't like we got blown out either. So,
yeah, I was very encouraged by Bobby Miller, and then like I said, Gavin Stone to me, he ran out of gas a little bit there in that 6th inning. But to me, I now think of him like Tyler Glass now, where when it comes, I don't want to say he's a stopper, but I am very confident that when Gavin Stone pitches, he's going to keep the Dodgers in the game. He's going to give them a chance.
And he gets run support. And he gets run support.
Another idea, I swear, Tyler Glasnow probably wants to fight Paxton and Stone and all these guys and be like, "What the hell, man? Why do these guys score for you, but they don't score for me?"
Well, and we had I think it was the top of the 4th inning in that game that Stone was pitching. Freddie and Will Smith went back-to-back home runs. Like, good job, guys.
I want to. Do you want anything else you want to add on the Rocky series before I move on to the Angels series?
No, I don't think so. I think my highlight really was just seeing Michael Peterson pitch too, especially after hearing.
Oh, that's right, British Gas. British Gas made his debut.
Did you hear he was at In-N-Out when he got the call up and he had just ordered a 4x4?
No.
And he was like, I need to finish this.
I was listening to his interview. I was waiting to hear a British accent, and he had no British accent.
So born in Britain, but raised here in California. So
thank you for that clarification there. But yeah, British Gas. Congratulations to British Gas for making his.
He got the win that night, I believe.
Yeah.
Double checking my notes.
It was the crazy game. It was the crazy game that he came, and even he said it himself. He was like, "Well, I'm making my debut, and it's mop up, whatever, And then for him to actually get the win in that game, that's crazy. So then the Dodgers come back home and they start the Freeway Series against the Angelitos, and they end up splitting the series 1-1. And Amy,
I'm sensing some doom and gloom in your voice.
I was thinking about you the whole time because for me, that Friday night game was so infuriating. Well, first of all, when I saw the lineup, I was like, oh boy. Austin Barnes, Gavin B. Not Gavin Biggio, I'm sorry, but it was it was just one of those where I'm like, I don't know how we're going to score runs in that game.
Well, luckily it was a low scoring game on both sides.
Look, there were some positives, but I want to start off before I go to the positives. This is what frustrated me about this, and this is something that you're very proud of, and you harp on this, and that is small ball. The Dodgers end up losing in extra innings, okay? And you saw the difference between an Angelitos team that is not very good this year, that is really struggling. Can I
just say, I was covering the team on Saturday, and the first thing that they were practicing in the cages was bunting. they had a couple guys out there bunting in the morning. Well, early afternoon, I guess.
I know Jerry Hairston brought it up after the game about the bunting, but it was just amazing to me. The Angelitos, who are struggling, they have a runner on third with 2 outs, mind you. 2 outs, and there's 2 strikes on Ward, and he comes up with a big hit. And then the Dodgers have a runner on second, and the first 2 hitters strike out. And all I kept thinking was, we cannot manufacture runs. And I feel like this is something that is going to bite them when it comes to the playoffs, when you're facing teams with good pitching, this inability to have productive outs, to move runners into scoring position. It was very frustrating to me. I
I'm
had my
looking
daughter
at my
literally
card. Oh, what did you have your daughter saying?
my daughter literally came in. She's like, they lost to the Angels. Like she was just in such disbelief, and I'm like, well,
Eh,
I mean, it's
I
like
mean,
what Amy says. It's baseball. This is what happens.
it is baseball, but I think okay, I don't want to take anything away from the Angels. However, I think Yarbrough had a really rough inning to his credit, and I do have a positive note on that. He hit 3 batters in 1 inning, and one of those came around to score. One of them he walked basically in by the hit by pitch, but he still managed to get out of that inning without it being worse than 2 runs. But if those 2 runs don't score, at that point, you don't necessarily go to the 10th inning. But in kind of what you were saying, I'm looking at the scorecard. We had a lot of flyouts, a lot of pop ups. Like there weren't a lot of base hits. And then the only one that we got was Barnes hitting that single and then Ohtani hitting him in with his 22nd home run. Like that was our scoring for the evening.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks is Landon Knack. I felt was again so good. He
Five
gave them
innings.
5 innings, shutout ball. Like this guy, whenever he's been asked to come and perform at the major league level, he has this year. And I feel like he should be up in the major leagues. And I get that there's no spot for him, but that's got to be super frustrating for him to go back to the minors, knowing that every time he's been up on the major league level, he has performed. I mean, his ERA is 2.10.
But depending on how things shake out, though, we may see more of him, especially with Buehler down. We need somebody to stretch out some of those innings so that the bullpen doesn't get exhausted, because we can't keep throwing multiple bullpen days. Like I know I guess we can go back to more of a 5-man rotation while Yamamoto's out, but is that doing a disservice to the guys who are kind of used to it right now? Was that helping Paxton be as good as he has been so far, because he was getting 6-day rotation, 5 days of rest, however you want to look at it? Like, does that factor in?
And that's why I wanted to go back to this, and that is why I say I don't know if we're going to see Buehler again. I think it all depends on what the Dodgers do with Landon Knack. I think Landon Knack is a trade chip. He has proven that he can pitch in Major League Baseball. And for me, he is somebody that can probably bring you back value. If I'm another team and the Dodgers are calling for a trade, that's the first guy I'm asking for. I'm asking for Landon Knack.
Are you giving him up, though, when we need as much starting pitching as we can get at this? At this point, with how we've lost people, like trade chip or not, is that valuable enough? Like, what are we going to get in return at this point when you really do need more starting pitching versus can we?
That's the question. That's the question, because the Dodgers, as we discussed in previous episodes, I feel have a few holes that they have to cover. And the problem is the guys that I think can bring you value, Landon Knack is one of them. So are you better off trading away Landon Knack or keeping him? And if you keep him, then that means you has left less trade chips. And this is the conundrum that I feel the Dodgers are going to have, where I know people are high on the Dodgers farm system, but if you're going to get into a bidding war with the Baltimore Orioles, with some of these other teams that I feel have better farm systems, or maybe these other teams that are willing to overpay, because looking at Andrew Friedman's track record, Amy, there is nothing that tells me that he is going to overpay on a trade.
No.
He wants to win the deal, so he's going to make the deal on his terms. So if you can't get somebody who's going to be a real game changer, then I think Landon Knack should be up here pitching. And that's why I say I don't know if we're going to see Buehler again, because right now, if you look at the numbers, Landon Knack has been more efficient. He's been more productive in his small sample size of starts than Walker Buehler. And maybe
he now gets that bigger chance to, like, essentially audition and see, can he consistently do it? Because as we've seen, he's been brought up, gone down, brought up, gone down. Is that what's allowing him to make such good starts, or is he really just ready for the show and he's ready to go?
That's going to be fascinating between now and the trade deadline, what the Dodgers do with Landon Knack, in my opinion.
Because he's pitched in 5 games, granted really well, but 5 games spread out. What happens if you insert him into a 5-6 man rotation? What does that look like with consistency?
That's a very excellent point. That is a very excellent point. So that's a decision that the Dodgers are going to have to make.
And nothing against Knack. I want him to have that opportunity to prove himself.
Look, at the beginning of the season, I thought he was like a trade chip, trade him. But I have been very impressed with him this season. I was not expecting him to perform the way he has performed. Tyler Glasnow pitched on Saturday, and Tyler Glasnow looked fantastic again.
He got run support.
Not only did he get run support, but his efficiency. The number, not only with the number of strikeouts he had in that game and his pitch count being as
he
low.
only had 10 strikeouts. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
He always has a lot of strikeouts. I'm impressed.
But not only that, Amy, it's another game where he goes 7 innings where I thought he could have gotten another inning. And I did, especially with what happened with Yamamoto. I think the Dodgers are very, very careful with Glasnow, but man, Glasnow has he's been fantastic for this team. And his fastball is just, and I know it's set up a lot by his off speed stuff, but I've been very impressed with the fastball.
And Lux hit his 2nd home run of the season. Good job, Lux.
There we go. Lux, who got so much hate on Friday, the game before, because he struck out in the extra innings. But
Freddie in the bottom of the 3rd hit his 2,200th career hit. So milestone.
Congratulations, Federico. So we've gone this whole episode and I haven't mentioned him.
Oh gosh.
I wanted to save him for this because
I didn't. Who were we saving?
Well, since Mookie Betts has gone down, I said this. I said if Ohtani can get hot, he might be able to carry him through the stretch where Mookie is down. And let me tell you, he moved into that leadoff spot, and Shohei had himself a week. Shohei almost hit 500 this week. He hit 4 home runs, and not just like home, typical like home run. Like this guy is hitting bombs. I remember, my positive Dodger friend text group, like when Shohei hit a home run, I don't know if it was Saturdays or it was Friday. One of them sent me a text saying he's going to hit one out of Dodger Stadium.
Isn't that a horrible problem to have that you can't remember which game he hit the home run in?
Look, he is just, I don't know if he's now healed. I don't know if he has fixed it, like the mechanics issue. I don't know if it's the fact that he's hitting leadoff and he's having a different approach, but he is locked in. This guy is just, it was very impressive to see what he did this week.
Multiple doubles, even like he was getting on base. I can't even tell you, like my cards are all over the place with like all of his stats, but this is where I wonder sometimes, where do the Dodgers get complacent in their lineup where it's like, nope, it's got to be Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, and then we might change up the 4 or 5 spot. Does it make sense to start experimenting like this? Is Ohtani great in the one hole, or is there somebody else we even try there? Do we put Freddie there first and then Shohei? Like, do you play with the roster a little bit more? Or do you just leave it as is? Because we saw the 2nd spot got moved around a lot over the last 6 games. We saw Freddie, we saw Will Smith, we saw Teoscar. Like, I'm just looking over these. Like, there was a lot of experimentation in who had that 2nd spot in the roster.
I think that was dependent on pitching matchups.
Righty lefty.
But one of the things Dave Roberts already came out and said it. And that is that Mookie is their leadoff hitter. So when Mookie comes back, he is going to go back into the leadoff spot. but it is one of those things that we're going to have to keep an eye on because I don't think it's realistic that Ohtani can continue this clip. If he's hitting 500 every week, I mean, that is going to be like
Do you think
something
there is
fantastic.
merit though that certain people hit better in certain spots, or do you think it's just like you said, like maybe he's picking up the mantle because Mookie's out and he feels a different kind of urgency, or his leg, that hamstring contusion has healed a little bit more. Maybe it's like a perfect storm of everything, or does it make sense that some people just you might have somebody vying for that first spot? Maybe Ohtani starts some days, maybe Mookie starts others.
No, I do think there's merit. I think that's the reason why Mookie wants to hit leadoff, is because he feels he hits better in that spot. And whether it's superstition or not on the player, but if a player has shown that they can produce and they're better in that position, I mean, look, I don't know if the drop off this year that we're seeing with Federico is because he's hitting third instead of second. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if it's also, again, how I I think maybe we underappreciate how great of a season Federico had last year, and how realistic is it for us to think he's going to do that again this year. But yeah, I think there is merit for at least for some players as to where they hit in the lineup. But
because even recently, it feels, and I'd have to go back to like cards and whatnot, but it feels like Ohtani hits into a lot of double plays where it's like, okay, have him get on base first and then have Mookie hit him in. And then you have, Freddie do like I am not the manager by any means, but like those are some of the things that just come into my head of like, can you shake things up, or does Mookie go into a slump because you put him in the second spot on the lineup? I don't know. This is all obviously all speculation.
Look, we're going to get a larger sample size, and I want to see a larger sample size because Mookie isn't going to come back probably if we're lucky. And
I think they were saying like 6 to 8 weeks. I think you sent me something.
Yeah, so probably at the beginning of September is we're going to start seeing maybe hints that Mookie may come back. So we're going to get a good 2 months of Ohtani hitting in the leadoff spot. So I want to see more of this. Go ahead.
Can I just call out also Miguel Rojas? He is hitting 277 right now. Like his defense has been stellar. I think he's one of those underrated players. But the fact that he's also hitting 277 right now, like, have a couple games, Rojas. Like, way to go.
And I believe his streak is still intact, right? The streak of whenever he gets a hit, the Dodgers are undefeated.
Is that a streak that we're going with?
They're 21-0. I don't hold me to the number. I thought the number was.
We did lose that. He came in to pinch hit in the 9th, and we did lose that game.
But he didn't get a hit that game.
No, that's what I'm saying. Okay, he got a hit in Monday's game, and we won.
Yeah.
Let's see. He got a hit in Tuesday's game. We won. Oh, no hits in Thursday's game, and he got picked off. No, Teoscar got picked off while he was at bat. So he didn't even get to really finish his hit. That one doesn't count.
Don't hold me to the number, but
I would say a majority of the times, yes. There's 2 here where we won. No, wait, we lost that one too. So there's only one anomaly at this point. So
all right, we're going to save that
Thursday's game.
We'll say that for the next episode. We will confirm, but to my understanding, there is a streak of games that he has gotten a hit and the Dodgers are undefeated. And when I get that confirmation for you, I will let you know. So, Jose Ayala, this does not count as a as a base running blunder.
We are researching. We are going to research.
We are researching. So do you have anything else before we end this episode? At the time we're recording this, it is boiling here in California. So we are,
I've got my air conditioner blowing. So come enjoy my expensive air conditioning. I don't even want to see my bill at the end of the month.
Exactly. There you have it. Okay. So that's going to do it for this episode. For those of you that are been listening on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We love engaging with you guys. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amy, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.